The pyramids stand eternal, symbols of genius and power. But beneath their stones is a tale the desert still whispers, of backs bent until they broke, of whips striking sand like thunder, of beasts and men forced into one struggle. This is not just a monument. It is a grave for those forgotten by history. And tonight, we reveal their untold story.
At dawn, they assemble in silence. The desert air is heavy, as if even the sky knows what is demanded here. Lines are drawn on stone and sand. Every measure is not precision, but a sentence of labor etched into the earth. Wood, rope, and copper, primitive weapons against impossible weight. Each tool promises pain before progress. The overseers need not strike flesh. The dust alone carries their warning, and the people bow lower beneath it. The sledge lurches forward, grinding into the ramp. Shoulders crack under ropes, yet the stone only begins to move. Even the mammoths groaned under command. Nature itself is bent to serve a will carved in arrogance. One body drops, swallowed by dust. For a moment, all movement halts, fear gripping more tightly than the rope. A block meets its corner, chalk marks disappear, and sweat falls like offerings into the seam.
The ramp rises like a scar across the desert. Each step upward demands flesh, sweat, and silence. Ropes stretch farther than the eye can follow. Every fiber carries the weight of stone and the weight of fear. Even beasts stagger under the load, their eyes dull, their strength broken into obedience. The giants walk above the line. Shadows cost longer than men themselves. One glance is enough to tighten every back. A plumb bob sways, a wedge is tapped. Fragile precision survives beneath a storm of dust and sweat. Whips crack into the sand, never flesh. The sound alone shackles the heart tighter than rope binds the skin. Bodies lean together, one motion, one breath. In unity, they move the impossible, but none dare call it strength.
The ramp shakes beneath the crushing load. Stone and flesh grind together, each step threatening collapse. Their shadows stretch longer than the ramp itself. Authority falls first as darkness, then as fear. When one falters, the rope quits the air. The silence that follows is heavier than the stone itself. A lash cuts into sand, and dust becomes a weapon. Fear does not need blood to leave its mark. The scene closes with patient precision. Sweat becomes mortar. Fear becomes the rhythm of every wedge. Fibers quiver, nearly torn apart. Every pull risks breaking not just the rope, but the bodies bound to it. Stillness falls like mercy. Men fold into dust, beasts lower their trunks, and silence becomes the only comfort.
At sunrise, the ramp becomes an altar. Men gather in silence, knowing the day will demand more than they can give. The incline grows steeper, the stone heavier. Every step
carves exhaustion deeper into bone. A sledge tips. Dust explodes into the air. For a moment, the monument almost claims its first sacrifice. The whip does not strike flesh, it strikes the earth. Yet fear makes every man feel its sting. The corner block slides into place. Perfection is demanded, even when bodies tremble with imperfection. Dust rises in clouds, turning men into shadows. In the storm, the difference between human and beast disappears. The stone rests at last. No cheer follows, only silence. The silence of labor without end.
The pyramid begins to rise above the desert floor. Each terrace a reminder of the bodies buried in labor. The rope line stretches into infinity. For the workers, there is no horizon, only the next step forward. A block trembles on the brink. One slip would crush flesh as easily as it crushes sand. The overseers pace in ritual, their whips drawing circles of dust. Fear spreads faster than command. Sweat and sand fuse together, burning into skin. Pain becomes the only language shared by all. The stone settles into its seam. Precision demands silence, but the silence hides exhaustion. The sun holds the ramp hostage. Men collapse into dust. Beasts slump into stillness, yet no mercy comes. Fibers split, rope nearly undone. Fragility of hemp mirrors the fragility of men pulling it. From the ridge, giants watch without blinking. Their gaze weighs as heavily as the stones themselves.
As the first light breaks, the ramp fills again. No rest, only a cycle that begins where it ended yesterday. The incline devours strength. Ropes quake, bodies shudder, yet the stone moves as if mocking their effort. One falls, and the rope snaps taut. In that breathless second, death hovers over all who hold the line. A whip lashes into sand, and dust rises like smoke. The air itself becomes a warning, binding fear to every lung. A plumb bob steadies, whidges knock, seams vanish, precision carved by hands too tired to tremble. Midday sun flays without mercy. Men turn to silhouettes, swallowed by heat and haze. A rope frays, fibers screaming as they split. The breaking point lies closer with every pull. From the terrace edge, a giant's shadow sweeps across the workers.
The ramp climbs higher, sharper, cooler. Each step steals more breath than the last. Shadows of giants stretch across the workers. The sun marks time, but the shadow marks obedience. When one stumbles, all tremble. For a moment, the monument threatens to take more than stone. Whips crack into sand in rhythm. Dust becomes a language of fear, spoken without words. A stone teeters at the brink. Death waits in silence, measuring lives against balance. Feet stomp, ropes tighten, bodies move as one. Unity is born not of will, but of necessity. Even the beasts shudder beneath the burden. Muscle trembles, rope vibrates, the ground quakes in sympathy. A block is eased into place, chalk erased by stone. fragile perfection achieved through relentless strain.
The pyramid climbs into the sky. Each terrace costs more than stone. It costs the breath of men. A block sways at the brink. The silence of dread is louder than any cry. From the ridge, a giant's shadow dominates the horizon. His silence commands more than any word. Ropes stretch like veins about to snap. Every muscle trembles as if the stone itself resists their will. A wedge drives home. The seam disappears. Perfection rests heavy on broken shoulders. Whips strike the sand. Dust veils the ramp. Fear spreads faster than the sound itself. Bodies collapse into silence. Even the mammoths lower their trunks in surrender to the sun. Beasts heave, hides slick with sweat. The earth groans beneath their weight, yet still the stone must rise. The giants patrol the edges like shadows that never fade.
The climb nears the heavens. Each step upward drags men further from mercy. Fibers quiver, ready to snap. Fragility becomes a mirror of the bodies bound to it. A whip strikes sand. Dust rises like smoke. No word is spoken, yet all obey. Stone kisses stone, the seam erased. Perfection demands silence. Low hands shake with fatigue. The sun burns away strength. Shadows vanish, leaving men to melt into dust. A sledge tips, chaos swells, and the heartbeat before disaster, life hangs by rope alone. From the ridge, giants walk like statues in motion. Their presence is as heavy as the stones below. Feet stomp, ropes groan, breaths fall in rhythm. Unity is forged not by choice, but by chains.
A seam closes on the summit. Perfection achieved at a cost no seam will ever reveal. The sun hammers the last strength from flesh. Endurance becomes survival. Survival becomes surrender. Whips lash the sand. Dust rises like a storm. Fear lingers in the lungs even without a wound. Even the beasts falter at the height. Muscle quakes, ropes tremble, but the stone obeys no one. The last stone settles into place. A silence falls, part relief, part mourning for all it demanded. The workers collapse in rows. The giants stand watch. The desert swallows the sound. Only the monument remains alive. In twilight, the pyramid towers above the sands, a monument to power, a grave for the countless who raised it.